Okay, do this again, but with the Power Rangers. Okay, do this again, but with the Power Rangers. Okay, do this again, but with the Power Rangers. Alright, now put Makoto in Street Fighter 6. So how does this work? Welcome to Power Rangers Jungle Fury. Welcome to Hayam Saban presents Power Rangers Jungle Fury. We're not even going to be talking about it, I just needed a name. Do you have any idea how long I wanted to talk about the Power Rangers? And how much longer I spent trying to figure out how I would actually do that? You say you want to talk about the Power Rangers, you might as well say, I want to talk about rocks. Just in general, do you have one you want to talk about especially? Do you want to talk about the sixth rock that always shows up and kicks way more ass than every other stupid rock put together? I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Listen, nobody loves talking about irrelevant bullshit more than I do, but covering any one of the Power Rangers series takes hours. I'm gonna make like a Hasbro and kinda just focus on Mighty Morphin here. Power Rangers was created by Hayam Saban. Pranked. To really start the story of the Rangers, you have to go all the way back to 1975 in Japan, during the henshin boom of Tokusatsu. Tokusatsu is the Japanese word meaning special filming, which refers to the genre of movies and TV shows that use heavy practical and special effects. Tokusatsu series that you're definitely familiar with include Godzilla, Kamen Rider, and Ultraman. And all take loads of inspiration and techniques from traditional Japanese kabuki theater. Extravagant costumes and effects are sold by performers using extremely exaggerated motions to help convey what might be hard to showcase without an emotive face. That brings us to the very first entry in what would become the Super Sentai series, Himitsu Sentai Goranger. What set Goranger apart from its contemporaries like Kamen Rider was that instead of being a solo masked fighter battling the forces of evil, Goranger would have an entire team of color-coded heroes who all had their own unique weapons. The two franchises share loads of DNA, but brothers often do. Yeah, Shotaro Ishinomori decided that if he could do it once, he could do it again, and created the concepts for both Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. Not exactly difficult to ask, what if there were 5 Kamen Riders? The series would wrap up after 84 episodes in 1977, and just like its older brother Kamen Rider, found that a show ending was not a reason to stop working. So Himitsu Sentai Goranger gave way to Jacker Dengekitai, which after 35 episodes became Battle Fever J. This would initiate the hellish cycle of samsara that the Samyara Nikaya was warning us about, with each show being rebooted into a new one once its season was over. Did they all take place in the same world? When there was a crossover, yes. Otherwise, no. One thing missing from these early entries into the franchise, like Goranger and Dengekitai, was the giant robots the Rangers would pilot, because those wouldn't become part of the franchise until 1987 with Spider-Man. To make a long story short, Toei struck a deal with Marvel back in the 70s so the two companies could produce projects based on each other's works. Toei took Spider-Man, made him scuttle, sent him to hell, and gave him a giant leopard robot. Not spider, leopard. The spider's natural ally. Spider-Man was the first tokusatsu series that saw a Kamen Rider-like hero piloting a giant mech. When Super Sentai returned for Battle Fever J, which itself was loosely based on Captain America, they kept the idea of the team finishing off the monster of the week in a giant robot, which would stick with Super Sentai for the rest of its existence. The 8th series, Chodenshi Biomen, introduced the idea of using 2 smaller robots to form a bigger one, while the 11th series, Hikari Sentai Maskman, was the first to give every member their own vehicle that would form their final mech. Super Sentai became one of the biggest series to come out of the henshin boom period, and became a cornerstone of tokusatsu culture, which, interestingly enough, the 4 series that I mentioned as tokusatsu mainstays each cover a different demographic. Super Sentai and Kamen Rider were skewed for kind of the same audience, but where Super Sentai would have been for first graders, Kamen Rider was for the world-weary 5th graders. Ultraman skewed even older than that, before Godzilla came in to be the one for the big boys. 15! With how much success the series saw in Japan, it was only natural for somebody to think to localize it to America. And noted prick Hayam Saban would be the one to do it. Don't got the time in the day, this guy sucks, that's all you need to know. He would purchase the rights to localize Super Sentai into English, trying and failing to do so in 1986 with a pilot for Bioman. Saban was not the only person who was trying this though, with Stan Lee of Marvel Comics attempting the same thing for years at this point using Taiyo Sentai Sun Vulcan, after he got the rights to it back in the exchange that let Toei make Spider-Man. Just like Saban though, his pitch ended in failure, though his efforts did get Fox Kids executive Margaret Loesch's attention, which meant that when Hayam Saban pitched a show called Galaxy Rangers with the exact same idea Stan had, she fought tooth and nail with the top brass of Fox Kids to get the show on the air. Her efforts would result in the making of a pilot, which got the show greenlit as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Hayam Saban thanked her for this by getting her fired in 1997 after he gained a majority stake in the ownership of Fox Kids. Fuck Hayam Saban! From there, the formula was set in stone. 5 teenagers with attitude fight the evil Rita Repulsa and her monsters, ending in a massive clash between the Monster of the Week and the Megazord. Say the word more phenomenal a few times and you've summarized every episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Power Rangers was half original show, half recycled footage from the Super Sentai series Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger, with battle footage, Zord fights, footage with Rita on the moon, and more taken from Zyuranger. What was actually made in America were all the scenes in between. What were 5 ancient warriors revived into modern times were now the 5 teenagers from Angel Grove, California. What was Bandora the Witch was now Rita Repulsa. Bookback, Totpat, and Grifferzer became Squat, Babu, and Goldar. With how much the characters changed, the plots needed to change as well. And the show was often hamstrung with what stories they could do based on what footage they had from Zyuranger. It has to be a Halloween episode, otherwise it will look stupid when they fight the rapping pumpkin monster. With that though, it was undisputed that Power Rangers was one of the biggest hits of the 90s. It was something nobody had ever seen before. As long as you couldn't point to Japan on a map. It wasn't a cartoon, these were real people, but when they morphed, they could move like cartoons. Martial arts action mixed with cool monster designs and giant robots. It would be harder to fail with all that going for it. Not just that, but for kids, it was also something different. Power Rangers wasn't exactly changing the main cast every few episodes, but it had serialized elements. When episode 17 rolled around, and suddenly there was an evil Power Ranger that didn't just get beaten at the end of the episode, but actually beat up the entire team on his own, it was exciting! It would take another 5 episodes before they were able to take down the Green Ranger. And when they did, he joined the team. Having story arcs and long-lasting consequences made the show feel big, like the series didn't set back to 0 every time the episode ended. They actually got really lucky with this, because even though it's a trope nowadays, the 6th Ranger joining a ways into the series started with Zyuranger, and by extension has been a part of Power Rangers for the entire time. More changes would come soon, as Rita was usurped by the even more evil-looking Lord Zed. The Rangers' Zords were destroyed and replaced with new ones. Tommy lost his Green Ranger powers before coming back even stronger as the White Ranger. All huge changes made for very embarrassing reasons. See, Zyuranger isn't special. I don't know if it's as beloved in Japan as it is in America as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but it was just the 16th Super Sentai series. It only lasted a year, almost to the day, from February 92 to February 93 with 50 episodes. But the first season of Power Rangers alone had 60. By the time of season 2, they were out of Zyuranger footage, so changes had to be made to Frankenstein something together. Lord Zed, for being a character so iconic to a franchise that's known as the one lifted from Japan, is an entirely American invention, meant to replace Rita since they used up all the Bandora footage. And with Zed, they could film whatever they wanted. The Zords being trashed was done so they could instead use Zord footage from Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger, which is also why Tommy swapped out green for white, as he was actually using footage from Dai Ranger's Kiba Ranger. This would end up happening again in Season 3 as they swapped out Dai Ranger footage for Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger, as now the Rangers lose their power coins and have to take on ninja powers. It gets extra messy when you know that Zyuranger, Dai Ranger, and Kaku Ranger are not related. These three series have nothing to do with each other, besides the fact that they were stitched together in America to make Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The next season, though, Power Rangers Zeo finally let them swap out to new costumes. From here, the history of Power Rangers... I just got a fucking chill down my spine. What was that? Anyway, the Power Rangers history only gets more complicated. For a time they were owned by Disney, then Saban again, and now Hasbro, which isn't a business deal, it's assisted suicide. And the show would move through various eras. The Zordon era would include Mighty Morphin, Zeo, In Space, and Turbo. Then there's the post-Zordon era, including Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, and Wild Force. But then that overlaps with the Disney era of Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, and RPM. But then if you're splitting hairs, all of that is under the New Zealand era, when filming of the series was primarily done in different Australia. There's the Neo-Saban era, when Saban got back control of the brand from Disney, which includes Samurai, Super Samurai, Megaforce, Super Megaforce, Dino Charge, Dino Supercharge, Ninja Steel, and Super Ninja Steel. The super industry was lobbying hard during this time, is it obvious? Once they ran out of creativity, they sold it off to Hasbro, and do I need to tell you things went badly? They sold off the damn suits, what's left? As for the Power Rangers in the world of video games, it's strange. Okay, so the closest parallel to the Power Rangers in terms of influence and cultural significance is obviously the Ninja Turtles. The two share a lot, like handshakes. Where I can name a fair few popular and beloved Ninja Turtle games like Turtles in Time, Hyperstone Heist, Black Ops 6, Tournament Fighters, Splintered Fate, and of course the game that's gonna get brought up a lot later, Shredder's Revenge, comparatively the Power Rangers kind of got the bum end of the stick. Sure, the early games like the SNES movie game and Fighting Edition are pretty universally liked, but it's a very short bright period for the Rangers. From then on, there are rarely any games made for consoles, usually being stuck to handhelds or, for a while, phones. Not smartphones, we're talking Sony Ericssons. What few games were released, I did play when I was younger. I was a massive Rangers fan when I was a kid. I even drew on one of my nice shirts to make myself the Crab Ranger. What has to be wrong with a child for him to willingly become the Crab Ranger? Ninja Storm on PC, Dino Thunder on GameCube, and Super Legends for PS2. These games were all fun when I was younger, but only when I was younger. These do nothing for me now. We almost had a great modern Power Rangers game. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid was a fighting game released back in March of 2019 by Enway. This was a team fighter in the vein of Marvel vs. Capcom that took Rangers from all over the series to battle it out. Yeah, like Mighty Morphin Season 1, Mighty Morphin Season 2, Mighty Morphin Season 3, and Shattered Grid. The Mighty Morphin section. It's a really interesting tag game. You think of games like MVC, and the floor almost never comes up. Opponents are juggled for entire life bars and only touch ground to start it all over again. Battle for the Grid, though, wanted to change that by keeping things grounded. Air combos are rare, And even rarer are complex inputs. No quarter circles, charges, or double taps. It's a totally button-based fighter. And those two things make it really unique. It's approachable, fun, and clearly bursting with love, both for 2D fighters and Power Rangers. It didn't have the budget to afford voice acting, a huge roster, or a bunch of stages, which meant that in one of the most saturated times for fighting games ever, it didn't matter how much love was put into the game. BFTG was swept away. This didn't stop the team, though, as they worked on the game for years, improving it, adding new characters, stages, Zords, voiceover, fine-tuning the gameplay. By the end, the game was undisputably better than UMVC3. This one has 2 Virgils in it. Anyway, the publishers tried to make them do NFTs and they left the game dead. Why does this always happen? At the Summer Games Fest 2024, though, we were set to see the first new Rangers game since Battle for the Grid with Rita's Rewind, a new beat-em-up in the same vein of games like Shredder's Revenge. With 5-player action, incredible pixel art, and a killer soundtrack, this was set to join what had been a very strong showing for beat-em-ups. Between Shredder's Revenge, Double Dragon Gaiden, The Takeover, Jitsu Squad, and Cosmic Invasion, it was a great time to be a fan. And if that Toxic Crusaders game ever comes out, it can join the group too. This thing's been at 3 PAX Easts. 3! That's more than 2! It was so great to see a game like this be made. Until I played it. Now, I went into this game blind. I wanted my expectations to just be my own. I had heard of the developers Digital Eclipse, but to my knowledge they had just worked on collections like SNK 40th Anniversary and the Cowabunga Collection. But as for original games... Space Jam: A New Legacy? Finally a mark of quality. The trailer, though, looked incredible. This type of multiplayer beat-em-up is one that the Power Rangers never got, despite fitting the theming a lot better than The Simpsons. And the graphics were really charming. In fact, before things start getting negative, I'll say this: the game does look extremely good. The colors of the game are extremely vibrant and fun, with the Rangers themselves being exactly as fluorescent as needed to stay distinct in what can become a busy screen. Enemies, both of them, also stand out for the same reasons. Being primarily blacks, whites, and desaturated colors means they're always going to stand out compared to you and the background. Trust me, the game will take its time to get its cheap shots in later. Wow, this is the positive section and I still can't stop myself. Animations as well are fluid and cool, from the combos to the backflips. The kicks with the cool afterimage effect and the screen-clearing supers all look great and impactful. The vehicle sections as well are neat, if a little repetitive with the background themes. Maybe it's an homage that the Super Sentai-inspired game spends so many levels in the same quarry. The bike levels gave me Outrun vibes as you speed through town and around beachside roads, through tunnels and along cliff sides. The best part of the visuals are the effects they add to everything. Explosions in this game feel massive. Debris and collateral damage have an amazing weight to it that persists through the whole game. Blasting through giant rock formations and shooting ships out of the sky in a Zord feels just as good as you'd hope. The time crystals that warp the screen around themselves and pulse between photonegative and normal feel as stage warping as they're meant to. And the actual effect of rewinding and playing back the section you just played is really cute. The only graphical detail I really don't like is the character portraits. And it's not all of them, it's just the Rangers. The others are all clearly stylized and cool, and the Rangers get close to that with their proportions, but when you get to their helmets, it's clear that's the one detail the team wasn't allowed to change. Can't have the kids getting confused why their helmets aren't photorealistic. Hands down, though, the best part of the entire game is the music. Sean Bilo needs to be in the discussion of incredible modern game composers next to T. Lopes and Jake Kaufman. Dude's track record is gold. Double Dragon Gaiden, Penny's Big Breakaway, Sparks the Electric Jester 3. Guy's been going crazy for a while now, and this game is no exception. I love the integration of the Power Rangers motif snuck into a bunch of songs in the game, but it doesn't feel like it's just relying on that one song like the series has been since Samurai. The songs themselves are absolutely killer with or without any homage. From the main menu theme to the stage music, even the training level has a great song to go along with it. Any one of these songs could hang with the best tracks from its contemporaries like Shredder's Revenge or Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and I love those games' soundtracks to death. The first level theme in this game is one of the best beat-em-up songs I've ever heard. Whatever I have to say about the game itself, Sean knocked it out of the park and then somehow caught it outside the stadium in the parking lot in one swing. Okay, what else is there? The intro is well animated, though kinda misleading. I mean, the Rangers never moved that fast. We'd be lucky if they ever actually hit the putties. It's ambitious? It tries out a few different gameplay styles, and it's trying. It captures the spirit of old-school beat-em-ups, and won't let it go. Okay, so Rita's Rewind's parents just left the room. It's time to get to bullying. I think this game is a fish out of water, a man out of time. It wants to be the Power Rangers beat-em-up from the 90s that never was. And if it was, it would be fantastic. Unfortunately though, this isn't the 90s. Hasn't been for a while. So to release a game like this with so little going on in the middle of a boom period for the genre is going to turn heads. First off, the story. There is no story. Okay, so not a unique problem. Most beat-em-ups throw out the story in order to fit in more punching. But it feels worse here because they actually give you something to be excited over. The story's all about this Robo-Rita traveling back in time to team up with her younger self to take on the Power Rangers. I was a little thrown off by Robo-Rita at first, but I found out she's actually been a thing in Power Rangers for a while now, since they messed up and made their most iconic bad guy the only character with a visible face. Giving her a robot mask means they can swap out the actors and just keep the voice, which I guess is a clever workaround. Sounds basic, but time travel is a really fun idea to work with. It works wonders for giving you unique locations, enemies, and set pieces. Need inspiration? How about the most beloved beat-em-up of all time? Having the dino Zords run through an actual Jurassic wildland, or flying the Megazord through space in the future, visiting the Old West and giving putties cowboy hats and pop guns, or medieval times in suits of armor, you're at no loss for cool ideas. And yet they're still lost. The theming isn't used at all. Enemies don't change, backgrounds don't either. It feels worse than a game like Shredder's Revenge lacking a story, since that one was just the Turtles fight the Shredder. This one gives you a hook and then does nothing with it. You don't even get to fight both Ritas at the same time at the end. Why have two Ritas if you're not going to fight them both? The only time the time travel gimmick comes up is with these time crystals that show up every once in a while, and are more annoying than anything. Either break them in a certain amount of time, or they'll rewind time to the start of the section you're on. The first time it happens, it's cute. Second time it happens, I'm already over this. The time it takes for the crystal to crack is always 2 hits before you actually destroy it. So unless you pop a special move, you're starting the section over again. What's weird though is that if you do pop a special, that rewinds too and you get to use it again. What the hell is the point of these things? They feel like they're supposed to be the trigger to end a wave of enemies, but because they set you back to the start of an encounter, it does the opposite, and creates a horrible feeling loop where you beat a bunch of bad guys, fail to break the crystal, and have to beat them all again. It's even worse in the vehicle sections where you're dodging loads of stuff while trying to break them, and either get blindsided and die, or have to keep looping until you get to a calm stretch of road. For being the only rewind in Rita's Rewind, it's handled really poorly. Speaking of the story actually, what we're all here to talk about, I know Power Rangers has a nostalgia problem, but I think it's getting worse. I've accepted, just like I did with the Ninja Turtles, that the version I grew up with is not the first one. And based on being the first one, that one's always going to get preferential treatment. It's going to sell more copies for nostalgia's sake. I'm fine with it. But maybe we're taking it a little too far when we start only covering the first 22 episodes of the series. Only one element of this game is from past the ending of the Green with Evil arc. And it's fucking turkey jerk. All of the bosses and levels are taken from only the first 22 episodes of the series. We're lucky the Green Ranger got in under the gun. They bumped Lord Zed back to post-credit teaser. I get it, the Solar Ranger isn't a draw, whatever. But come on, you can't even spare till the end of Season 1? I wish that was the only shallow element of the game, but it only gets worse from here. At the start of the game, you pick your favorite color of the lineup. And because I have a complex, I needed to be the Red Ranger. Anyway, I wish I was joking when I said you were just picking your favorite color, but that's really as deep as the choice goes. 5 characters, 6 when you beat the game, and they all play the exact same. Hope you're not tired of the phrase of the day yet. In Shredder's Revenge, you got a better variety of character choices, and each one of them felt impactful. Donnie's bow staff didn't just give him better reach, his reach is insane. Mikey can zip all around the screen and is faster than anybody else. Raph demolishes ninjas like they're nothing, and Leo is the midpoint between them all. Throw in the specialized characters like April, Splinter, and Casey, and you can play the arcade mode over and over and over and get a different experience each time because they took the time to make each character play differently. Even the basic commands across different characters have different properties. Like Leo's dash attack doesn't budge a character, but Casey's does, because Leo is meant more for comboing, whereas Casey is meant more for crowd control. Here, black is as red is as yellow. Deutschland. You couldn't make Zack the heavy hitter, Billy a combo machine, Trini the speedster, Kimberly the ranged ranger, and Jason the all-arounder. Instead, the only difference between the characters is what weapon flashes on the screen for a few seconds when they end a combo, and what their special move looks like. That's right, special move. As in one. Here's that phrase again. In Shredder's Revenge, they gave every character 3 special moves: standing, aerial, and dodge specials. They all followed similar templates, with aerials usually slamming down on multiple enemies, or standing supers being a big AoE attack, but they could each have unique properties. Some characters like Donnie and Casey have standing specials that have a vortex effect that pulls in multiple enemies. Miyamoto and Raph have dodge specials that target only one enemy but do massive damage. They made each character feel unique, if only slightly. Here though, you only get one, and it's a screen nuke. Not nearly as fun to play with as the specials in Double Dragon Gaiden or Shredder's Revenge. Unfortunately, that lack of excitement extends to the minute-to-minute gameplay as well. It's a single-button game like a lot of other beat-em-ups, a lot that I like too. So if that's not the source of the problem, why does this one feel worse than all the other ones? I played through arcade mode a few times trying to figure out what was missing until it clicked that nothing clicked. So you have your basic 5-hit combo: a dash attack, a dodge that can become a kick, a launcher, a dive kick, and a ground stab. Sounds like a hefty move list, but there's a connective tissue missing between all of it. Your combo is a static 5 hits that doesn't flow into any of your other options well at all. Trying to go into a launcher or a dash attack won't work, since combos have these massive dead zones where the only input it registers is the next hit. Double Dragon Gaiden is really good for making combos feel like they flow seamlessly between all your options, and letting you use everything you have to rack up a huge combo. Something Rita's Rewind doesn't do at all. You have a launcher, but nothing to do in the air. A launcher in a beat-em-up should serve one of 2 purposes, either letting you do an air combo or using it as a get-off-me tool. Something to split aggro and make it so I can deal with enemies all around me. The launcher in this game launches you too though, which means it accomplishes nothing. Not like you'll ever use it, it's mapped to attack and up on the control stick, but it's a finicky up. You have to push directly up to get it to work, which kinda ties in with how unresponsive the rest of the controls are. Double tapping the control stick to dash should feel simple, but I swear to God it doesn't work half the time. When I think a dash attack would help out, or I just want to get across the screen fast, it's a crapshoot on whether or not the game will understand what I'm trying to do. The biggest problem with all of it is that the main combo that you're using is so stiff and uncustomizable that it doesn't feel fun to use. That's all I'm allowed to do in the game, and it's not fun. The only thing unique to this game is a move they don't even tell you about in the tutorial. Pressing attack and the special move button at the same time lets you do a breakaway attack that does extra damage and knocks back everything around you, at the cost of a little bit of health. This is the game's best idea as far as combat goes. It's simple, but it makes for interesting choices when you get crowded. Do you try and escape and risk extra damage, or do you eat a set amount and get away for sure? Props where it's due, I like that. That just makes it all the more frustrating, though, that it's the only interesting idea in the whole game. The best beat-em-ups have this sort of simple combat, but throw in something unique to take it to the next level. In Gaiden, it was the tag team system. Jitsu Squad has parrying. Midnight Fight Express has Arkham-style combat. Shredder's Revenge might be basic, but it fine-tuned itself to the point of being the best a basic beat-em-up can feel. And even that has way more bells and whistles than Rewind does. Enemy variety doesn't help too much, since if we're counting like an asshole, there are only 3 enemies in the game: Putties, Super Putties, and the Tengu Warriors. Now, these putties do come in multiple variants like the ninjas from Shredder's Revenge, and there's a good variety. Boulder hand guys who block your attack and need you to dodge behind them, knife hand guys who will charge at you. They're basic, but they work. The thing is, the game gets a real sick kick out of throwing things at you from off screen. Putties holding bombs, barrels, or the knife hand ones will usually come from off screen, and since the combo is so inflexible and you're usually going to be fighting an enemy, they get a free hit on you. The Tengu Warriors don't get updated nearly as much as the putties do. They don't get fun costumes in the circus level or football field level, and they never change how they attack. They just fly up, try to dive bomb you, or fire out feathers. These guys really make it feel like air combat was intended to be included, or at least the options you have now were to be expanded. You have 2 basic enemies, one of them flies almost all the time, and all you give us is a dive kick and a ground stab. Tengu Warriors are generally much more annoying to deal with. They're only ever gonna hit you when you're distracted. The Super Putties are fine as well, except for this super fast hit they get if you wail on them for too long. It's so fast and unpredictable that you have to awkwardly cut combos short or have future vision to see it coming. At the end of a stage, you'll get a grade depending on a few things, like combo length, how fast you beat the stage, and a few stage-specific objectives, like not dying or finding secrets in the stage. This is one of the things the game does best, and that's appeal to longtime Mighty Morphin fans. You get props from episodes, get to save characters from the show. Between this and the Easter eggs in the background, like graffiti, it's a really cute addition. Seeing the 4 turtles playing in Toxic Waste. I mean, I wouldn't remind me of Shredder's Revenge right now, but it's still cute. You also gain experience based on your score, which can be converted into upgrades for your strength, defense, and speed. Believe it or not, there's something kind of like this in Shredder's Revenge, and Double Dragon Gaiden too, which let you upgrade either when you beat enough enemies or spend enough money. An upgrade to a special move in Double Dragon Gaiden takes a move that was good at dealing damage and makes you tear through people. Same with Shredder's Revenge. Rewind, though! These are worthless. These upgrades don't do a thing. You hit the same on level 15 as you do on level 1. Upgrading defenses changes the amount of health you have, but doesn't change the actual graphic. So those ticks of health don't represent your actual life total. Upgrades also bottom out way too fast. I was fully upgraded by level 5, and that was only a third into the game. The boss fights... they're fine. Most of them have a cool idea, and they usually do them pretty well. Chunky Chicken and Turkey Jerk being a tag team fight was pretty neat, especially since it's a subtle reference to the fact the Turkey Jerk costume is just a repainted Chunky Chicken. Seeing how they mixed their powers together was pretty cool, with Chunky Chicken running through portals over and over again to gain speed as Turkey Jerk keeps you grounded. Although, we had a solo fight against Chunky Chicken, but not Turkey Jerk. Guys, I think we forgot a fight. You'd think that Bones was like the main villain for how much he gets. A 3-phase fight in a unique stage, following a pretty fun gimmick section on a roller coaster. His fight might be long, but it's definitely one of the game's best. Fights like Madam Web, though, are where the game is at its worst. Every teleport leads to a grab. Aggressive play is punished with a freeze. I spent more time not fighting the boss than I did fighting it. The fight with Tommy as the Green Ranger was cool for what felt like a versus mode in a beat-em-up. And the stage gimmick of the Dragon Zord firing at you from the background was really neat. Speaking of Zords, the game does attempt to inject some life into itself with different sections where you either ride a bike or pilot a Zord, as well as boss fights for those sections where you pilot the Megazord. If I had to make a direct comparison, I'd say Space Harrier is a pretty one-for-one reference. The sections in the Zords are auto-runners where you have to blast at enemies flying towards you, and destructible environments with collectibles for you to find. These sections were fine enough. I thought it was a cool change of pace. It's very distinctive gameplay and graphics-wise. And there was a nice balancing point between challenging and fair. I think the health drops during these sections were needlessly stingy, which made a no-death run way harder than it needed to be, but I still cleared it with no problems. Bike sections were a lot more dicey, since I feel like a lot more instant kills can happen here. They can in the Zord sections, but that's from falling down pits. I think in levels like this, just hitting a car is enough to kill you. I can't say I liked these ones as much as the Zords or even beat-em-up sections, but they're passable. The Megazord sections, though, are my least favorite of the 4, because it's just not executed the best. Now, for as obvious as it might seem, these sections are actually based on the classic arcade boxing game that had the endorsement of former WBC heavyweight champion, you guessed it, Frank Bruno's Boxing. Oh guys, look out, I think that might be an infarction. I don't think you're allowed to do that in boxing. It doesn't have any of the nuance you'd expect from this sort of game. Where those are boxing puzzle games, this is more of a bum rush as you try to get into the enemy's face and cave their head in. Sounds like fun, really isn't. It's stupid easy to bait your opponent into jumping at you, which, with a few moves forward, loses them a third of their health bar. If you're not doing that, then you're waiting out a lengthy section of dodging fireballs, where you're not allowed to get hit or you'll be sent back to the starting point. It's either all gas or all brakes with these sections, and it's boring. Especially when every fight like this is the same. It doesn't vary itself between the encounters, which feels like being caught in a rut. It wasn't difficult, it was boring, and that goes for a lot of the game. In fact, when I looked to see what other people's problems with the game were, top of the list were that people found it too difficult. Now I did play this on normal, and maybe I'm just f***ing nice with it, but this makes no sense. This game was easy as hell. I struggled maybe twice in the whole game, but never spent more than a life on any level. I never even used a continue. I knew the audience for this game would be casual, but god damn guys, this is not a hard game. I know the game got a massive quality of life update that changed a bunch of stuff about it, like character speeds and the difficulties, but even then, this is no harder than Shredder's Revenge. Maybe I've been unfair drawing so much comparison between this game and specifically Shredder's Revenge, just because they're both retro multiplayer beat-em-ups. But see, that's the problem. They're both retro multiplayer beat-em-ups, which means they're competitors. It's like comparing toothpaste brands. You should know which one gives you more value. And in that department, Rita's Rewind gets embarrassed. Not only does Turtles have more levels with a boss encounter at the end of every single one, it has more characters, more options, more going on in general. And that's just base roster. Add on the DLC and you get 4 additional characters, a brand new survival mode, alternate colors pulling from every corner of the franchise. Meanwhile, Digital Eclipse is confirming there are no plans for DLC, period. The thing that makes this comparison necessary is the price tag. Shredder's Revenge and Rita's Rewind both cost $35. If you get all the DLC for Shredder's Revenge at once. Yeah, base game Shredder's Revenge is only $25, And if you get the Ultimate Edition, which will give you all of the DLC at once, it's actually $3 cheaper than Rita's Rewind, a 2-hour-long game where I spent more time alt-tabbed out making dinner than I did playing the game. It comes down to this: if you're looking for a retro beat-em-up with online play to play with your friends based on a property with color-coded heroes that was popular in the 90s, Shredder's Revenge wins in every way every single time. Rita's Rewind is the worst type of retro throwback. The type that uses the tag of retro throwback as an excuse to not improve on decades-old games. There is nothing in Rita's Rewind that warrants the $10 price increase over Shredder's Revenge. If you hate the turtles, Double Dragon Gaiden costs the same as base game Shredder's Revenge and has gotten 5 post-launch free DLC characters and new modes, including an honest-to-God versus mode. For even less, you can grab Jitsu Squad, or Rotwood, or Midnight Fight Express. Heck, you can even try out some beat-em-ups for free! Absalom is available in demo form right now. Same with Disco is Dead, that game's really turning heads. I don't even know what the hell Ego is supposed to be, but it looks really cool. Try that one too. What I'm trying to say is that beat-em-ups are in such a good place right now and trying so many unique things that we don't have to settle for stuff that's simply sending up to what's already been done, and in some cases doing it worse. The space is so crowded, we don't need to include games that are just coasting by on what feels old and tired. I don't blame Digital Eclipse. Obviously, they were trying as hard as they could. Heck, if blaming Hasbro is ever an option, I'll just take that. But the game is a mess. Alright, now do this again, but with the f***ing, stone protectors.